Hello, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, what was the last discussion?
Yeah, Sanjay, this is Sohini here. Good evening. I have
Yeah,
pinged you with some
yeah,
doubt.
I saw your message in WhatsApp. I was busy. I just got became free.
Okay.
I'll
Yes,
reply your message after this class. Huh?
yes. I actually want to show after this class some issue. That means when I'm using use callback at that time, something is working, but something is not working. Then other time when I'm using simply that handle input function, at that time it
Hmm.
is working differently. So that I would like to share with you once after
Sure,
this.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we'll discuss. Yeah. My office work got over just now. I saw you texted me. I thought I'll reply you. Then somehow I got busy.
No problem.
I'll
No problem.
I'll reply. Huh. Okay. So yesterday we were discussing uh, what is fragment, right? What is fragment and why we use fragment?
To wrap elements composition.
Yeah. To avoid unnecessary divs, we can use fragment, right? Yes. Fine. Today we will understand. Today we will understand how many ways we can add components. How many type of components we have? How many type of components we have? And how can we add component? So let's understand that. To understand that, okay. Before that, sorry, I have something else. Let me discuss that. Then we'll go to component part. Yeah. So today we will discuss what is import and export, then a React object. Let's discuss that. Yes. When it comes to imports and exports, how many type of module systems we have in JavaScript world? What all module systems we have? Come on.
Naming and design.
No. What all module systems we have? Module systems. How many type of module systems we have?
Import export.
No, sir. Two types, sir.
What are those two types of module systems? What are those two type of module systems?
Import and export.
No, no.
Oh, sorry.
We discussed all these things in JavaScript. If you forget all these things, I cannot explain 10 times. You have to remember for at least a week. It was
Two types of
discussed last
Default,
week.
sir. Named and default.
No, these are not module systems. These
Okay.
are the syntax to,
model modules are required in common JS.
okay. Yeah, there are two type of module systems we can use. One is common JS module system. The second one is ECMAScript module system. ECMAScript module system. If somebody asks how many module systems are there, we have to answer we have two type of module systems. One is common JS module system. The other one is ECMAScript module system. In common JS module system, we will see the person who wants to export the members will write module dot exports. Module dot exports equal to something. Member 1, member 2. So like this, we will export the members in common JS module system. How to import? To import, we
Module
use const member1 is equal to require the library, right? So this is how we can export members from a file. This is how we can import member from files. Hope you know this, or you want me to discuss? Come on, either say we know or say we want you to discuss.
We know, sir.
Will not.
You know. Okay, great. So in CommonJS module system, when one file wants to export one or two members, that file will write module.exports equal to member1, member2. And the file that wants to import will write const member1 is equal to require the library file name, or we can say file name or library name, whatever it is. You can say library name or file name. In ECMAScript, what happens? The person who will export will write export member1 or export default member2. So a file can export something without using default, with using default. So these are two ways to export members. And the file who wants to import, will write import default member, comma, named member one, named member from file name. Is it clear? This is CommonJS syntax to export and import. This is ECMAScript syntax to export and import. In React, we use CommonJS system to export import, or ECMAScript
ECMAScript
syntax
one.
to ECMAScript. Yes.
ECMAScript.
JavaScript, in JavaScript by default it is CommonJS or it is ECMAScript.
Common JS.
Mostly
It
common.
is
JS.
CommonJS. Yes,
I
it is
have a question.
CommonJS. Yes.
We use means normal export function like not ECMAScript function in React.js. Means we generally use ECMAScript export, but can we use CommonJS that like module.export in React.js? I have a question.
Yeah, we can do that. But ECMAScript module system performs better than CommonJS module system. So in ECMAScript, what happens? You can import only the required members from a particular file. But here in CommonJS, we are importing the whole object or everything from a file name. That is why ECMAScript module system performs better than CommonJS module system. And nowadays, everywhere people are using ECMAScript module system, but we can use CommonJS module system also.
Sir.
Okay. In ECMAScript module system, again, we have two type of imports and two type of exports. There are two type of imports and two type of exports. One is default export, one is named export. If we have default export, named exports, definitely we have default import and default named import also. If we have to import a member which is defaultly exported, right? If we have to import a default member, we write import default member from a file. If we have to import named, import name1, name2 from a file. If we have to combine both default and named, then we will write import default member, comma name1, name2 from a library. Is it clear?
Sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now let's understand here.
Is there any means any when we will declare some component as default? Okay, so is there anything like we are doing more if we will not say default? Suppose this is one function demo one, we are doing just normal export. We are not writing default, and there is no other named export or there is no other default. So is there anything like we are doing default for some reason?
No, nothing like that. When we export this function with default keyword, what happens? The component who is using center.js is using, right? In center.js, we import like this because this is export default. If it is named export, it will not work and it will start failing. Export default imported as demo1 was not found. You have to surround that with this. This will start working now. This will start working. This is the only difference, how you export and how you import. There are differences also. I will explain when we should go with the default export, when we should go with named export. I'll explain. Give me 5 minutes. But there is no other differences. You can export directly without default also. Okay. If we try to understand what is named export and what is default export, the answer is only one default export is allowed per file. In one file, you can export only one export default. See, there is one function called demo1. If I used export default here, I cannot say export default function demo2. We cannot do this. What is the error here? One file can have maximum one export default. But if one is export default, the other one can be normal default or normal export or named export. This is called named export. If we have named export, to use it, we will use comma, demo2. This is how it should be. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Return a div. This is demo2 component. I can use along with demo1, I can use demo2 also. I can use demo2. Now two components should be working. Demo1 component is working. Demo2 component is also working. Hope it is clear, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So one point to remember, if we have one export default, the second one has to be named. So in a file, if you have 10 things to export, the very important one, make it export default, and other things makes it named export. When one is export default, other things are named export. Can I change this demo1 to some other name? Demo like this. Is it
Yeah, we
okay?
can do. We can do it.
We can do like this, right?
Yes.
Yeah, this is valid, but here we cannot. It has to be exact name. Named exports are useful to export several values. Yes. A default export can be a function, can be a class, can be one object, but cannot be a variable. Yes. This is one more point to remember. From here, let's say this is not export default. Both of them are named only. If both of them are named, we will import like this. This is completely valid, right? Demo1 and demo2 are named export or default export?
Named.
Named. Now I will export one variable from here. I will say export let name is equal to Reactjs. This is valid. This is named export or default export?
Named.
Named. If I use default here, what is the error? Only expressions, functions, or classes are allowed as default export. If you have a variable, you cannot export using default keyword. You have to export without default keyword. Do you understand? Is it clear? What is the point here?
Variable cannot be exported as default.
Yes, variable cannot be exported using default keyword. Okay. Then the name of imported module has to be same as the name of exported module for named exports. But the naming of import is completely independent in default export and we can use any name. So when we import React and other things also, we write import IMR. Import React from React. React is a default import or named import?
Named.
Name import.
Sorry, default import.
This
But
is
what
default.
did you use just now? IM.
The shortcut key is IMR. IMR will import React. IMR. So import React from React. React is default or named?
Default.
Can we change it to my React? Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
It is fine.
In that case,
Now I will import fragment. Fragment is named or default?
named.
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 Can I import saying my fragment?
No,
No.
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 No. So this is valid, but this is not valid.
Yes.
Yes. Import React, import my React, my component from React. This is correct. We can give any name, but here we cannot use any name because it is a named export, right?
Yes.
Are we clear how many module systems we have? And in React, what module system we are using? We are using ECMAScript module system. In ECMAScript module system, we have two type of exports and imports, named exports and default export. Are we clear with all these things?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, when we are importing React, we always keep this R as capital, right? But actually it is R small. So anyway, we are changing the name here, right?
Exactly. No, we cannot say it is small. In this file, how it is written, we have to go and check. So here, if you go here and see how it is exported, that is the main thing. There, go to this library and see how it is exported. But this export doesn't matter. We can give any name here anyway. But we will get to know from this file, not here.
Okay, so in that case, regarding this
Okay.
default export, when we do not like at the end, sometimes we use to, class component we used to write export default, then that name, right? The class name. So if we will give that export default some different name there, and while importing we use that particular name, will it work?
It will work. Yeah. Next, we will understand React object. React. React is one predefined object available. React is one predefined object available. So Now I will use only demo1 component and I will delete everything. This is demo1 component. This is my demo1 component. Now if I have to import React object, this is how we write import React from React. Now if I print this React object, what all things we have? Console.log React. We can print whole React object, or else if we want to print only few information from this React object, that is also possible. React object has a lot of keys. We can say React dot, I want to print React version. React dot version. If I print React version, it will show which version of React we are using. Okay, it has to be daemon has to be export default. So here we are using React version 18.2.0. Now, if I print the whole React object, we will see a lot of things inside it. We have all these information: children, component, fragment, profiler, strict mode, suspense, clone element. Once you discuss all these points, right, it means our training is over. So inside React object, whatever you see, we will discuss everything. React.children, we have to discuss. React.component, we have to discuss. React.fragment, we already discussed. Once we discuss all these keys available in React object, we are done with our training. So today we discussed something called version. What is version inside React object? Using React.version, we can print what is the current version of React we are using. Is it clear? So we can say this is, and the version React version that you are using is React.version. We can print on the UI also. Instead of printing in console, we can print in the UI also. So in UI, it will say the React version that you are using is 18.2.0. Next, in command prompt, you can run this command to check what version of React you have installed in your machine. npm view React version. Open command prompt and type this npm view React version. It will tell you which version of React is installed in your machine. 18.2.0. If you want to print on the screen, this is how we can do. You just want to check. This is the command. Any question? Any question? No?
No, sir.
Fine. Then React emit. So React emit, using React emit, we can use lot of shortcuts. To enable shortcuts in your Visual Studio Code, you need one plugin. The plugin name is React Snippet. I hope every one of you have installed this plugin. Without this
Yes, sir.
plugin, it will take a lot of time to create components and all. Make sure this plugin is installed in your Visual Studio Code. Once this plugin is installed in your Visual Studio Code, all these shortcuts will start working. So these are the most frequently used shortcuts. What is the shortcut? The first one is IMR. If you want to import React from React, you just write here IMR. IMR will import React from React. You don't have to type everything. You want to import React DOM. The shortcut is IMRD. Import React DOM from React DOM. Then you want to import React also. component also. IMRC. Okay. This is also possible. You want to import React and component. Then you want to import prop types. IMPT. IMPT. It will import prop types from prop types. You want to create a class component. So far, we have been using functional components, but if we have to create a class component, the syntax is RCC, React Class Component. It will create a class component. You see, export default class demo1 extends component. It is a class. It is class component. So in UI, we will see no difference. It will print the same output when we create a class component and functional component, but there are differences. I will explain. We are just discussing the shortcuts. If you use RCC, then there only it will write export. If you write RCE, it will create a class. It will create a class here and it will export like this. You see, RCE. To create a functional component, RFC. If you want to export separately, RFCE. We have a function. Then at the end of the file, we are exporting. The shortcut is RFC, RFCE. Either way, we can do it.
Is there any difference if we write it down or if we write it up directly?
There is no difference.
No difference.
Yeah. Okay. So I think these all things you can try yourself also. The list is already given. Please try all these things, and going forward, whenever it is required, I will use these shortcuts also. So from there also you will be able to learn. If you want to create arrow function, see, if you want to create arrow function, RAFC. This is one arrow function. Export const demo1. This is the component name, which is a arrow function. Okay, it's not using function keyword. RFC creates functional component with function keyword. RAFC creates arrow function. It is also functional component. So please go through this list and try all these shortcuts. No need to try all the shortcuts. You will get to learn all these shortcuts when we need them. But at least minimum things, all these things you should know. Is it clear?
Sir.
What is React snippet, how to add it in Visual Studio Code, and how these shortcuts are working?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Great. Next thing, VS Code extensions. In VS Code, as a React developer, we should have all these extensions added. It is not mandatory though. If you want to improve your efficiency, you want to do something faster, you should have these extensions installed in your Visual Studio Code. This is must as a React developer. React snippet. If you don't have it, you have to type every component manually. So nobody will do that. Everybody will have this extension, React snippet. The second extension is ESLint. ESLint. ESLint is one extension. If you install ESLint extension, what will happen? What will happen? The linting problems it will show you. Linting problems means if you miss to write a semicolon at the end of the line, if you miss to write a semicolon at the end of the line, it is not a error in JavaScript, but it is recommended to add a semicolon. It is recommended to add a semicolon. But when we miss to add it, nobody is there to complain us, right? Nobody is there to complain us. If you want somebody, should complain you, hey, add a semicolon. Next thing, in JavaScript, we know we can create a string by using single quote, by using double quote also. Both of them are valid. But ESLint suggests single quote is better than double quote. So ESLint will consider double quote as code smell. So don't use double quote if you have to declare a string. Even though both of them are valid in JavaScript, ESLint has its own rules and it will run those rules. If it finds you are not following those rules, it will show you linting problems. Every React project will have ESLint configured in their project. So whenever you write some code and push your code, before you push your code, your manager will force you to run the linter. Once you run the linter in your React project, you will get a report how many linting problems are there in your file. If you don't have any linting problems, then only you will be allowed to push the code to the GitHub. So better you add ESLint extension, which will show you the linting problems in the Visual Studio Code itself. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Then Prettier. Prettier is one extension. If you install this Prettier extension, it will be able to format your code. Proper indentation will be maintained. Then code spell checker. If you install this extension, if you type something wrong, instead of React, if you type RAECT or REATC, it will show you the spelling mistakes. These are not mandatory. These are good to have plugins. If you don't have, no need to worry. These are just good to have, nice to have extensions, not must to have extensions.
One query, like how to use this prettier.
You just install it. Once you install, you have to, while formatting, you will press Alt Shift F, or you will say right click, format document. When you do format document, if prettier is there, it will ask you, you want to use prettier or you want to use, see, prettier is there, right? This prettier is formatting my code. If you don't install prettier also, there will be one default formatter available in VS Code, but prettier works for any kind of file type. Let it be JavaScript, TypeScript, HTML, CSS, everywhere it will be able to format. But the default formatter of VS Code is not that smart. If you have it, it is good. If you don't have also, you will be able to format using the default formatter of VS Code. Okay. Yeah. So you can see my spell checker is saying there is no issues in this file. If I write something wrong, it should tell me. When I write, the spell checker is telling me there is one issue in your file, and it is done because of my spell checker. I have installed this extension.
Please show the icon of spell checker.
Spell checker. Let me check. Spell check. Code spell checker. Search like this. You could find it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Then git lens. This git lens is again required if you are pushing your code to git. So in enterprise application, when you work for actual project, you will push your code to GitHub, right? In that case, this git lens plugin will help you to find out how many files are changed, what all lines are changed, who changed what, all those things git lens will show you. The history of the file, which all lines are changed, which all files are changed. It will be easy for you to commit the code from Visual Studio Code itself. You don't have to go to your folder and commit. You can do it from here itself if you have git lens.
Can you show it?
Yeah, you can see here. It is showing me I have changes in all these files. There are 10 files where I have changes. 10 pending changes to commit. 10 pending changes to commit. And what all changes I have done. This is how the old file looks like. This is how the new file looks like. I can easily compare. It becomes easy for me to understand what is the change I have. So last time when I committed, I didn't have these 2 lines. I added these 2 lines here. App.js. This is how last time it was looking like. This is working. Sorry. This is the last time when I committed. I had only header, center, footer, navbar. Header, center, footer, navbar, and category and carousel. 2 more lines I added here. 2 more lines I added here. So all these things are shown. You see. So these are things you removed here, made some changes. It is showing everything. It becomes easier for us to compare. If you want to commit all these things, first of all, we have to add them. We have to add them to the stage. Then we have to commit. Then we have to push. Suppose, let me quickly show you demo one. Oh, default. If I show you my GitHub repository, in GitHub, if I open my app.js, in app.js, I have only center, footer, and navbar. But all these things are changed in my local machine. In my local machine, I have added 2 more components here, and I have added 2 more components here, right? When I have added few more components here, if I want to push my local changes to this GitHub repository, I want to push my local changes to this GitHub repository. We can do 2 ways. One is using the command prompt. One is using the command prompt. Let me show you how can we do it using command prompt. First of all, go to the folder where your project is present. This is the folder where my project is present. I'll open command prompt here. First of all, I'll check how many files are modified. I will say git status. When I say git status, it says you have these all files modified and these all files added, newly added. They were not there. They are not there in your internet wala folder, but these are there in your local machine. If you want to add them, just say git add dot. When we say git add dot, so it will add all the local changes that I have in my local machine to be committed. Now, if I say git status, you see all these files are ready to be committed. Now what I will say? I will say git commit -m for message, and the message, let's say I will say 3rd Jan 2023, today's date I will add as message. My files are committed. My files are committed. If you go and refresh, you will not see latest data here. If you want to see those latest data here, we have to run a command git push. I want to push all the changes from my local machine to now the internet wala folder. Now all the changes are there in internet wala folder. Now if I go and refresh my internet wala folder, I should see all the changes. Let me go and refresh. When I refresh, I'm able to see categories, carousel, everything I'm able to see. Even you people will be able to access my URL and see all these things, right? Huh. Now, if I go and check my VS Code now, what is my source control saying? You have no changes, right? If I type something here, demo component, look at here. If I open my components, source, components, demo, we have only demo one, nothing here. But I changed it. When I changed it, my source control is saying that you have some changes. What is the change? You had demo one, you changed it to demo one component. Now what we will do? So we have this is discard changes. You don't want to commit these changes, you can discard. If you want to commit, first of all, stage the change. Click on stage changes. Now these are the staged changes. Staged changes means these all changes I want to commit to my central repository. Once you have staged changes, what we can do, we can commit these things. So here we have commit. In commit the staged ones or commit everything. If you have 10 files, out of 10 files you have staged 2, 8 are not yet staged. You can commit only the staged files. You can commit all the files. Let's say commit all. When I say commit all, yeah. So it is saying, please enter the commit message for your changes. Suppose I will say demo one component changes. This is my message, and I will click here. Now the files are committed. What we have to do now? We have to push our changes to this central repository. To push the changes to central repository, we have to push the changes. To push the changes, you can see we have sync changes. Okay, no, we have push option here. Push. When we say push, it will push my changes from local machine to central repository. Do you see? I didn't use command prompt. From Visual Studio Code only I committed. Did you see that?
Yes, sir.
I want to understand one thing. Are we spending more time discussing other things, or the way we are going is fine?
No, the way we are going is fine because without this, it's also means real life project. It is going to be difficult actually.
How about others?
Yes, sir, it's required.
Okay.
We have to spend time.
Sorry.
It's okay, sir, for me.
Okay, okay, fine. So if you have these extensions, you can do all these things from VS Code only. The percentage of committing mistake is less here because it is graphical user interface. From here, you can modify something, demo one component changed. As soon as you change something, it will show you here what is the change. So you got to know what is the change. Okay, is it intentional or by mistake I changed? If you think it is intentional, add it to stage. Once you add it to stage, you can commit. Go here and say commit, commit all the files. Then add the message here. Demo one component changed again. This is the message. Then click on tick mark here. It is committed. Now we have to push the changes. To push the changes, click here and just say push. That's all. So
Okay,
your
can
change.
you once search this extension in your code?
No, this is because of Git. This is not because of Git lens. This is not because of Git lens. Git lens
Okay.
is something else. Git lens will show you which file was modified by whom on which date. Git lens is different and Git is different. Huh?
Okay. That Git
Yeah,
one, I could see it is already there default. It
yeah,
is
yeah,
there.
yeah, 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 yeah. This Git lens is different. Huh? Git lens will show you the history of the file. Okay. Okay. So let's not spend much time discussing these extensions. You guys can do it yourself also. At least you got to know that these are the extensions we should have as a React developer in our Visual Studio Code. Then VS Code icons. VS Code icons is again one more extension I have installed. Because of that, you see there is a JS written. There is some icon. When I open JavaScript file, it shows JS. When I open CSS file, it shows 3. When I open HTML file, it shows 5, HTML5, right? How these icons are there? Because I have installed one extension, VS Code icons. This is again not must have. This is not must have extension. This is nice to have extension. If you want to have it, or else it is fine. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So these are the extensions we can have in Visual Studio Code for efficient development, faster development. This is not must to have, but nice to have. Next thing, React.strict mode. What is React.strict mode? You might have seen in our index.js, when we open index.js, in index.js, already it is written that React.strict mode. Do you know what is this React.strict mode? Why are we writing React.strict mode? Can we write only strict mode like this?
No, sir.
Huh? We
We
can't
have to
write?
import, right? We have to import React.
From React component, we need to import it, I think.
We
That is
have to
only-
import like this, right? Strict mode. If you import, it will work. Why not? It will work. It will work, right? Huh. Okay. Now, what is React.strict mode? When we write, what happens? Let's understand that. Strict mode is a tool for highlighting potential problems in React application. In React application, if you enable strict mode, it will show you the problems. If you don't enable strict mode, even if your application has problems, it will not show you. It will not show you problems even if your application has issues. It activates additional checks and warnings for its child elements. You don't have to write react.strict mode in every element. If you write react.strict mode in index.js, it will run your whole application in strict mode. Is it clear? Because it is enabling strict mode for app component. App is the parentmost component. No need to write react.strict mode in every file. Only this much is enough.
Okay, sometimes we means some functionality it will not work if we keep this React.strict mode. At that time, people say ki just remove it and try, then it
No,
will
that
work.
is not the way to handle. You should see you are not writing a valid code, because of that strict mode is throwing error, right? You have to fix that error. You are not supposed to remove this react.strict mode. When you remove this react.strict mode, your React code is executed in normal mode. In normal mode, even if your application has some issues, nobody is there to complain. What you want? You want good quality code, or you want React to ignore your errors? What you want?
Okay, so
Now
the
you
thing is,
decide.
yeah, so the thing is, I have a backend some servlet code. It is means we are trying to skip the cross error. So if I will means keep the strict mode thing, in that case that error will come only. Means though I am passing in web.xml backend Java side the cross, still it will come if I'll keep the strict mode. So I got a suggestion ki like remove this strict mode and just only use the app. As of now, it's working like that. So is it correct or should we think
No, that
further?
is not correct. You should write strict mode and you should handle your course issue. To handle course issue, removing strict mode is not the right option. There are other options we have how to handle course issue.
Okay.
Yeah. Strict mode checks are run only in development mode. They do not impact the production build. In production build, there is nothing called strict mode. It is only there in development. Strict mode will help you for all these things. What are the things? Identifying the components with unsafe lifecycle. Inside a component, if you are using the deprecated lifecycle, component will mount, or some deprecated lifecycle methods, if you try to use in strict mode, it will throw error. Not error, warning message. Warning about legacy string ref API usage. There is something called string ref API. If you use string ref API in strict mode, you will get warning message. Warning about deprecated find DOM node. Find DOM node was a method we used to use it long back. In strict mode, if you use it, it will throw error, not error, warning. It will detect unexpected side effects. It will detect legacy context API. So mainly when you enable strict mode, when you use deprecated methods, it will show you warnings that you are using deprecated messages, deprecated methods, don't use. This is how we can enable strict mode. We can import strict mode from React library and we can enable like this. Strict mode renders. One more thing we have to remember this also. Please remember this. Strict mode renders the component twice. Twice it will render the component 2 times. Strict mode renders the component 2 times, but it will happen only on development, not in production, in order to detect any problems with our code and warn us about them. So if you enable strict mode, your every component will be rendered 2 times. So if you write in demo1.js, if I write console.log, this is demo1 component. This is demo1 component. If I write, this will be rendered 2 times. In strict mode, it is rendering 2 times. One here, one here. Do you see? But if I disable this, If I disable this strict mode, now it is running in normal mode. In normal mode, it will run my component only once. If I reload, it is running only once. But if I enable strict mode, it will run the component 2 times. Every component will be rendered 2 times. But it's not a problem. It is only to check the problems whether your component has any problem or not, and it will happen only in development mode, not in production mode.
In
Are-
production mode, what we need to do?
In production code, it removes strict mode.
Okay, so we need to manually remove it from that?
No, the bundle, when we bundle the project, right?
Okay, okay.
The bundler will remove.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. No question. Now, let us understand. Let's understand how many type of components we have in React. In React, we have 2 type of components. One is functional component. The functional component is called stateless component or presentational component or DOM component. And the other type of component is class component, which is called stateful component. Not now. If you go back to React version 16, less than 16, we used to use 2 type of components. One is class based component. The other one is functional component. So what was the limitation with functional component? When you create a functional component, in functional component, we were not able to manage the state. Manage the state means we were not able to declare any variable and track the value change on that variable. I'll give you one example. If we have to develop one page, like this, where we used to use functional component and where we used to use class component. See, this is nothing but array of objects we are rendering, right? When we render array of objects, when functional component was not that powerful, what we used to do, we used to create a class component. We used to create one class component called product list. In that class component, we used to write the logic to fetch the product information. Then inside that, we used to create a functional component called product, where no logic will be there. Only it will show the product details, product information. So if you look at here, the whole thing is called product list. In that parent component or in the product list component, we will write lot of logic, how to fetch the data, where to fetch the data. All those logic will be written in product list. Just to render one box, we used to create a functional component which will only show the product information. So if you have any logic to be written, earlier days we used to use class component. If we have to create a component where there is no logic at all, only some UI we have, so far whatever components we have created, nowhere we have logic. In demo1.js, we don't have logic. In header, footer, carousel, categories, navbar, nowhere we have logic. We have only the UI, right? We have only how to render the UI. For those kind of components, we used to use functional component. But in a component, if you have to declare one array, You have to push one more object to that array. You have to delete one object from the array. If you have to write logic and all, people used to use class component. But nowadays in React 18, that is not the case. Now, when I'm saying React 18, today functional components are equally powerful like class components. We can write logic in class components. The same logic can be written in functional components also. So functional components today are equally powerful like class components, but functional components were not equally powerful like class components 2 years back when we didn't have hooks and all. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yeah. So we will discuss more about this tomorrow. I have to close the session little early today. I'll close the session here, and tomorrow we will discuss the type of components, how to create a functional component, how to create class component. We'll see tomorrow. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Sanjay, can we discuss or